Hello loyal RARs, we are back today with yet another video to promote me and to take over the world. So I decided to be a little more organized for today, so I'll be launching a new series called How RAR Makes Money, because I figured that's a pretty exciting title, right? And I'll be basically talking about how I make money, or how maybe even you can make money, and I guess what we're going to do with the money, that's definitely part of the plan. So I just want to get started by showing that indeed in our group on Lichess, Classic RAR, which you can view here, what is the easiest way to show it? Classic RAR. There's a reason I have over 8,200 members is because, yes, I actually do waste and pay money to people who win my tournaments. I've created this spreadsheet actually just to prove it. As you can see here, lots of players, winning $5, $1, $1. You get the point, right? So tons of events, and used to update this a lot more, but sometimes I was even like spending real money, right? And that was not very fun. Although luckily a lot of the time, the people that won money didn't actually have an account, and that was definitely good for me because then I would have probably had to pay hundreds of more dollars if they actually had their accounts. And now we switched to Litecoin, right? But enough of that. I just want to mention that I do need to get the money somewhere, right? So actually my main source, as I mentioned here, was probably the best source of all, and that was the government. So last year during coronavirus, the government decided to print money and give it to everybody. So, or not everybody, but most people who had a job at some point received about $3,200. And luckily for me, I had a job in 2019 before I became unemployed and lived in my mother's basement. So yeah, they gave me $3,200 for free for really doing nothing. And I already actually had a job, so I'm not like completely broke to start with, obviously. Not that I'm rich, so please no one rob me. Although, I have great security and the mobs will come after you if you threaten me. But I created this forum, in fact, to discuss where we get all our money. It's, in an extremely serious fashion. I mentioned why we'll be able to continue paying our prizes. Some people don't claim them. We're just rich. We intimidate and draft people. We pretend we're nice, but in reality, I've been intimidating people into giving me their money. And, there's member dues, and sometimes we just hack bank accounts. And, then there's the official ways of making money. As mentioned, I teach chess. I have a Twitch channel. I trade. And that is what we'll be talking about today. Not only just trading, but we'll be talking about investing. So with that said, I guess probably cue in the intro here. I'm not sure how we're going to organize it, but yeah, just go intro, and then I will explain my brilliant plans. Okay, so where do I start? I should have been more organized. Whatever. I'll start off here. So there's this website called TipRanks where if you invest in stocks, you can show off by choosing stocks you think are good and seeing how your performance does against everyone else on the website. As we can see here, I've had an account here for over a year now, and I've actually done pretty well, right? I've done almost in the top percent of all investors. Now, of course, to call these people investors is quite a compliment because a lot of them are just, speculators that have no clue what they're doing. I, of course, am very smart. There's a reason they gave me 5 stars because I know how to invest. And look at that, 6,762nd. I used to be even higher, honestly, and I will come back to being number one, hopefully. Actually, I never was number one, but you get the point. But this basically does a good job of evaluating whether you're actually a decent investor or if you're garbage, right? And I'm better than 98.6% of investors, something like that, if I did the math correct. So that should be a good indication that I know what I'm doing, right? So basically, I'm trying to brag about this, and I just want to gain credibility because I don't have any credibility, so I'm trying to pretend I actually know what I'm doing. And before I explain what stocks are, if you want to get your Litecoin rewards by commenting on the YouTube comments, or actually it's now changed to a Bitcoin reward. So actually it's going to be a Bitcoin reward this time. Comment great video, all right? Exclamation point. I'll put that on the screen here. Comment great video. Well, that's it. Let's move on. So many of you might wonder, what are stocks? So stocks are pieces of a company. So I think maybe I could just illustrate this by choosing a stock to explain. But basically, if you own stock in a company, you own a piece of the company. So probably the easiest one to do is let's just do Apple. That's the largest company in the world, right? Worth 2.8 trillion. So how it works is if you buy a piece of Apple, you could buy a piece of Apple for $171, but there's like how many shares of Apple? There's like billions of pieces of Apple. So basically, you could buy it, but you would only own like a billionth of the company, or actually more like you probably own like a 12th billionth of the company, because obviously there's so many shares of Apple. But how it works is if you buy it, you do technically own part of the company and you're entitled to part of its earnings. They'll pay you a dividend. And yeah, you can even vote in their elections. Of course, if you have one share, you're not going to have any influence, but it's still pretty cool, right? And when you go to the stock market and you create a brokerage account, let's say in Robinhood or Interactive Brokers, TD Ameritrade, Fidelity, there's a ton of brokers that you can create stock accounts with. You can buy companies, and what you're doing is you're trading them with other people, right? So let's say I wanted to buy 10 shares of Apple, that'd be like what, $1,700. I would take I would give them the 1,700, and someone else that owned Apple, they would give me their 10 shares. So we would be transferring ownership. And that's basically what stocks are all about. You transfer ownership from one person to another. One person gives money to another, and the other one gives you your shares of ownership. And actually, I can even just show probably a stock chart. Stocks are very volatile and move a lot. Okay, let's just go to finance.yahoo. As we notice here, you just look at a stock over a year, it moves a lot, right? It's up and down, although Apple, of course, in the last year has been mainly going up because who doesn't like Apple, right? And this is basically what stocks are. They're ownership of a company, and when you use your brokerage, you could buy shares of the company by paying someone else, or you can sell your shares. Let's say I owned 10 shares. I could sell those shares for whatever value it is right now, and I would get money for it, right? So that's what trading is. You can trade it because you buy ownership, you sell ownership, lots of other things you can do. And I just wanted to show also these are the largest companies in the world. So this could be sort of maybe a cool thing to know if you want to sound smart. Apple is the most valuable company in the world, valued at 2.8 trillion. But keep in mind that changes every single day. Today it went down, I guess, by a few billion. We can even look at this market cap loss, right? So Apple's value or Google's value went down 27 billion today. But of course, it's arbitrary. The next day it could just go back up again, right? But as you can see, companies lose and gain value in just a bunch of different crazy ways. And it's always very fun to watch. So yeah, the largest is Apple, then Microsoft, then Google, which is called Alphabet. I don't know why it's called Alphabet. Maybe they don't know what the alphabet is, but who cares about them? And all these other great companies or evil companies, depending on if you hate them or like them. But they're all able to be invested in, and hopefully you can get rich. So why do I like owning these stocks so much? As you notice, I have my own portfolio. This is showing some of the companies that I've invested in. Or really, this is not a real portfolio. This is just a portfolio that you can create and put your own stocks in. But the reason even now, stocks have gone up a lot in the last year, which I think I can show by going what? S&P 500. I should have prepared this towel already. But anyways, the S&P 500 is the 500 largest stocks in the stock market. They're basically the entire market, and everyone knows how they work. It includes Apple. Apple's the biggest one, Microsoft, all those companies. And this is basically how the stock market is done. So if you look at the stock market over the last year, take a look, up 24%. That's pretty insane, right? Go over the past 5 years. I mean, it's more than doubled. It's up 104%. That means it's more than doubled the past 5 years. So some people think, isn't it overvalued? The stock market has gone up so much. Isn't it going to crash? Isn't it dangerous? Because stocks can go down, right? But I'm actually still pretty sure they're going to continue going up. Don't give me those ads, evil CNN business. Not part of the video. Why are my plans not working? Because what the government does is the government prints a lot of money. And basically because it prints money, it's almost impossible for stocks to go down very much anymore. So last year, I think what the Federal Reserve printed around, $4 or $5 billion. They just print money and put it in the economy. They sent it to me. You're writing stimulus checks. They just pay the deficit. They just print a ton of money, and they have no clue what they're doing. But the good thing is, because they're printing money, it makes it very hard for anything to go down in price. I mean, inflation is skyrocketing here. Prices for houses, cars, food, everything's going up. And the same applies to stocks. So that's why I'm actually pretty confident that it's pretty hard to lose money if you put your money in stocks. Because unless you choose some really stupid choices, pretty much it has to go up. Because think about it, there's inflation. Inflation makes everything more expensive. And then everyone gets more money. So at least nominally, you have a higher stock price. So that's why I'm pretty sure that you should continue investing in stocks. But how about what specific stocks? That is the question. So I guess I was going to share a couple of my favorite stocks at the moment. Not that any of you are investors, but I figure I sort of have to pretend I know what I'm doing. So wait, how do I think there's a way to view what stocks I've added recently. I'll see, what stocks am I really sure about? Or what stocks do I advise you to invest in if you have an account right now? What's really cheap? So, I mean, there's a lot of really cheap ones I would have to say, but what are my favorites? I'll just go down over this and tell you what I love. I would say Cheesecake Factory is definitely one of my favorites at this point, if you have money to invest in. So if you don't know who they are, they're a restaurant. You know, I guess they make cheesecake, but actually they're mainly just a normal restaurant. Their cheesecake is not very good. Trust me, I've had it. But I think they're pretty cheap at the moment. And, you know, I think they're a pretty good business. People continue to go there. I guess people love the cheesecake. Another one is Discover. Stock ticker is, you know, DISCK. And they're, you know, they own the Discovery Channel. They basically make a bunch of content. I think they have National Geographic. You know, let me make sure. I don't want to like have misinformation because then YouTube will probably take me down. What does Discovery own? I could just be completely wrong on that. I probably am wrong. Okay, so they own, what do they own? They own all this stuff. Yeah, they do not own National Geographic. I just made that up. But see, they own this stuff, right? Mythbusters, all this stuff. I think they're pretty cheap also. So I'm pretty, I guess they call it bullish on that company also. I think it's going to go up. What else do I like the most in this portfolio? What was my favorites? I mean, okay, I think Southwest Airlines is a really cheap one too. So they're an airline, you know, they fly people around. Super cheap stock right now. And honestly, I mean, airlines, they haven't recovered fully, but I think they're going to recover fully. People love traveling, you know, they love being in the air. It's like a superpower, right? So of course people will continue paying money for it. As you can see, your professional stock analysis. What else do I think is the best? AT&T is really cheap. They're the phone company. They're a terribly run business, but they're so cheap at this point that I'm sure they're pretty much going to have to go up, even though, you know, they've just completely botched their business. Viacom CBS, they're another streaming company. They're also really cheap. So yeah, they own CBS. You know, they make all these shows. You've probably heard of them. I'm not sure which ones, but I'm sure you've heard of them. And honestly, that's probably what I would say. Also, Zillow stock. They're the ones that do real estate. If you've seen Zillow.com, they're just a well-run website. I think they're pretty cheap also. So those are a few of my, I guess, highest conviction buys if you happen to have stocks and you want to add more. Of course, I might be completely wrong and they could all completely crash. But hopefully, you know, you can pretend my performance is good because I'm in the top, 1.5% of investors. So go me. Okay, now it's time for the second viewer check. So I decided to make sure you actually watch the video. Some people are going to see that first viewer check of leaving, you know, simply, what was the first viewer one? I was like, great video, right? And then they're going to think, oh, there's not going to be another viewer check. Now I know I'll get the like coins. But if you really want to be loyal and you continued watching, you'll be rewarded now. The second viewer check is to type RAR with 2 exclamation points. So I'll put that up on the screen right now. So as you can see here, there's no way that anyone would normally type RAR with 2 exclamation points. So I'll know that you were loyal and you stayed here. So thanks everyone for your loyalty. I want to end this off now by talking about how RAR and what we're going to do with our riches, because this is just basically explaining how I get rich and how many you can get rich. But what are we going to do with our money? Well, once we get the money, we are going to try to take over the world, right? The government is just printing money, and I'm letting us use it as a casino to get more funds. And I mean, I guess we'll just have more events, right? The richer that RAR gets, the more money we'll give in these tournaments, and you know, the more people I'll be able to bribe into watching this YouTube video, you know, just like you guys right now. And the bigger we get in YouTube, you know, we'll get bigger in Lichess, and then Facebook, and then Twitter, and TikTok, and basically the entire internet will just be filled with RARs. We'll take over Reddit. You know, I just said it. It's just going to be amazing. So I've already covered my plan in my last video. I can't believe I'm referencing other videos. I sound so much like a terrible content creator who I absolutely hate. But that is pretty much it for today's video. So again, leave your great comments. Tell me how great this video was. And yeah, I'll be actually continuing to talk more about investments. So you actually have any serious questions about investing? I'm really into investing. It's probably like the main thing I do right now. So if you actually are interested, yeah, comments, let me know, or even tell me what your favorite stocks are. Like, you can have real comments too. Like, you need to comment your Lichess username so I know to give you the money. But like, if you want to make a real comment, please do. In fact, if you're just commenting your username, Lichess might, you know, they might get suspicious. So if you could, please leave extra comments, or actually have a real conversation, you know. And I'm also going to, I think I'll link this just to make myself rich on my Robinhood referral link. So if you happen to want to create a stock account to start investing, which I would highly advise you do because your cash is trash and it's just losing money because the government prints more of it, then click on that link and I will give you the money. Or no, you will get a stock and we'll all get rich together. So with that said, thanks for watching. Let's take over the world.